Forget the Disney fairy tales where animals sing cheerful songs and help the main characters stitch ball gowns. Welcome to the real world, where Mother Nature is a ruthless, genius, psychopath engineer, and we are merely clumsy, soft sacks of meat and bones, surviving by sheer luck on the fringes of evolution. We are embarking on a dark journey through the terrarium of planet Earth, to the places where humanity long ago lost its status as the pinnacle of creation, ceding that position to beings that lack a neocortex as we understand it, and do not possess advanced technology, yet are equipped with the most sophisticated biological weapons ever created in the universe. If you genuinely rejoice that the most dangerous creatures in your region are just hedgehogs and harmless grass snakes, give this series a thumbs up. Comment on which of these scaled killing machines you fear the most. This will help us continue exploring the most perilous corners of the wild. Snake number 1. The black mamba, or the coal kiss of the African savanna. Imagine the scorched earth of the African bush, mercilessly beaten by the equatorial sun. The air shimmers with heat, distorting the horizon, and the dry, wiry grass rustles quietly beneath heavy boots, while every sprawling bush or pile of rocks conceals a primal threat. It is here, amidst the spiky acacias and termite mounds, that it dwells, the sleek, swift, and utterly uncompromising black mamba. This reptile earned its sinister name not for the smooth, matte scales that are usually olive, dark gray, or the color of old, dusty asphalt. Its name comes from the coal-black interior of its mouth, as dark as a moonless night. When the mamba senses the slightest hint of danger, it raises the front third of its slender, muscular body, which can grow up to 3 and sometimes more than 4 meters long, slightly inflates its narrow hood, and opens wide that terrifying, inky abyss. This is the final, gentlemanly warning that many overconfident fools have encountered before they forever close their eyes. Its grace resembles a dance of death, one that Quentin Tarantino would eagerly capture in close-up, just as he did in his cinematic masterpiece Kill Bill. But in reality, it is much more prosaic, quieter, and far more terrifying. The mamba is the ultimate sprinter of the reptile world. It can glide over sharp stones and dry branches at speeds of up to 20 kilometers an hour. It's physically impossible to outrun it in dense underbrush. It moves like a drop of heavy mercury, flowing seamlessly through obstacles with a frightening, almost supernatural ease, barely touching the ground. Its strike is a true marvel of predatory biomechanics. The snake doesn't just bite. It delivers a series of lightning-fast, seamlessly combined strikes, injecting its deadly venom again and again. Its fangs are astonishingly complex. They resemble tiny, slightly curved surgical needles, perfectly sharpened with an inner channel. At rest, they are neatly tucked away in the upper jaw, but during an attack, the bone rotates and the fangs shoot forward like the blades of a switchblade. Powerful muscles compress the venom glands located on the sides of the head, forcefully ejecting a clear, viscous liquid directly into the tissues of the victim under high pressure. However, the true chthonic horror lies not in the mechanics of the bite, but in the dark alchemy of its venom. The black mamba's toxin is a sophisticated cocktail of powerful neurotoxins, known as dendrotoxins, and cardiotoxins, honed to perfection over millions of years of evolution. This substance does not waste precious time dissolving your tissues, causing decay or widespread necrosis. Instead, it operates with greater intelligence, subtleness, and efficiency, much like an elite hacker breaching a defense ministry server. Dendrotoxins specifically block potassium channels in nerve endings, triggering a cascade of uncontrolled acetylcholine release. Translated from the dry biochemical language to human terms, this means your nerves begin sending chaotic, relentless electrical signals to all the muscles in your body. Severe cramps and spasms set in, followed by complete depletion of neurotransmitters and a profound paralytic blockade. Your body literally forgets how to breathe. Just 10 to 15 milligrams of this venom is enough to guarantee the demise of a large adult male, while an enraged mamba defending its territory can deliver up to 400 milligrams in a single bite. Don't bother calculating in your head. The chances are 0 with such a volume of toxin. The typical encounter scenario is painfully mundane, lacking any Hollywood flair. A local farmer or a distracted tourist, intoxicated by the beauty of the savannah, walks through thick elephant grass, oblivious to the fact that he has stepped into the danger zone, too close to a reptile resting in the shade. The mamba does not attack out of some mythical malice or vengeance, as local tribes weave into legends. It does not chase humans for kilometers. That's just folklore. It merely defends its personal space from a large, clumsy predator. A lightning-fast, slick strike, which the human eye can barely register, and the person feels only a sharp, burning prick in the shin or thigh, as if they had stumbled into a thick acacia thorn. At first, it seems that nothing catastrophic has happened. The wound is tiny, barely bleeding, and there is little pain. But within 10 to 15 minutes, an inevitable countdown begins in the body. The venom rapidly spreads through the lymphatic system. A strange, pronounced metallic taste emerges in the mouth, accompanied by a tingling sensation on the lips, tongue, and fingertips, as if you've touched a battery. Then comes the terrifying symptom, ptosis. The eyelids become heavy and inexorably droop, as if you haven't slept for 3 days straight. The victim, in panic, tries to focus their vision, rubbing their eyes, but the world begins to mercilessly double and blur. This neurotoxin methodically disables cranial nerves. Soon after, the speech apparatus fails. The tongue becomes enormous and unresponsive, making it physically impossible to swallow saliva, which begins to bubble at the lips. The individual remains fully aware. This acute clarity makes the action of the aspid's venom profoundly chilling. You understand with crystal clarity that you are dying. You can hear the voices around you, yet your own body transforms into a soundproof concrete sarcophagus. The muscles of the chest no longer obey the frantic commands of the brain. Breathing becomes shallow, raspy, and sporadic. Encountering a black mamba in high grass far from civilization is a perfect way to test how quickly your emergency medical insurance can respond. Spoiler, it's not fast enough. If a massive dose of specific polyvalent antivenom is not administered within the next hour, or sometimes even within 40 minutes, if the toxin has effectively entered a major blood vessel, you will enter the terminal phase. The diaphragm finally ceases to function, asphyxiation sets in, followed by heart failure due to lack of oxygen. The curtain falls. Yet, gazing at this perfect machine forged by death, one cannot help but feel a deep, dark admiration. The black mamba is a crucial, irreplaceable component of the delicate balance of the African ecosystem. It is the supreme controller of rodent and small bird populations, which, without its intervention, would decimate the meager crops, turning the savanna into a desert and bringing about epidemics. It isn't a maniac, nor a demon from local lore thirsting for human blood. For it, we are simply oversized, loud, and unpredictable primates intruding into its quiet domain. It desires only one thing: for us to stay as far away as possible. Given its chemical arsenal and rapid response time, this is a reasonable and fair demand. However, stifling Africa is far from the only continent where nature lovingly set its toxic traps. Our journey continues across the ocean. There, among the endless red sands, cracked clay, and blistering stones, hides a phantom creature, a reptile whose venom is so unimaginably toxic that a single drop could paralyze and annihilate the population of a small village. With scales that change color with the seasons. If you thought that a nervous breakdown from encountering a mamba was the limit of nightmares, take a deep breath. We are heading to an isolated continent, to a land where everything alive wants to kill you. Snake number 2, the inland taipan, or the ruthless ghost of the red center. Leave behind the stifling African savannas. Our route takes us straight to a branch of Martian hell on Earth, the central region of Australia. Picture endless scorched expanses of the Simpson Desert and the dry riverbeds of Queensland. There are no picturesque oases, no welcoming shade, only cracked, parchment-like red clay, spiky spinifex, and mirages shimmering above the searing surface. This is a harsh, uncompromising region reminiscent of Mad Max, where only the toughest and most dangerous survive. Deep within these parched cracks of the earth lies an absolute champion of toxicological rankings, the modest and unremarkable recluse known as the inland taipan, or the taipan of McCoy. Evolution has gifted this reptile with a unique skill for thermoregulation. It can change the color of its scales according to the seasons. In winter, when the desert nights turn frigid, the taipan dons a dark brown, nearly black coat to absorb every drop of the scant morning warmth. In summer, however, when ground temperatures reach levels capable of melting lead, the snake sheds its skin, becoming pale straw or light olive in color, reflecting the relentless sun's rays. It resembles a ghost, seamlessly blending into the faded landscape without leaving a trace. Its hunting strategy and arsenal represent a triumph of biological redundancy. In the wild, the taipan primarily feeds on local rodents, particularly long-haired rats, whose populations can rapidly explode after rare rains or plummet during harsh droughts. The rodent is a quick, nervous creature armed with sharp incisors. The taipan cannot afford to bite and wait for its prey to escape to a narrow burrow where it would be out of reach. It needs to strike instantly. Thus, the Macaque taipan delivers a series of incredibly precise, lightning-quick bites, effectively injecting its venom into the victim's body and refusing to release it, as death occurs within mere seconds. Its fangs are relatively small, measuring around 6 to 7 millimeters, but this is more than sufficient to pierce the thin skin of a rat or human. Yet the real danger lies in what flows through those fangs. The venom of the inland taipan is akin to a weapon of mass destruction. The lethal dose of 50, the standard toxicity measurement, is so minuscule that the numbers may seem like a typographical error in a biochemistry textbook. On the toxicity scale, this venom is roughly 50 times stronger than that of a king cobra. A single dose of venom delivered by the taipan contains enough active substance to kill over 100 adult men, or 250,000 laboratory mice. Nature has crafted the equivalent of a thermonuclear warhead designed to eliminate a mosquito. The chemical composition of this fluid merits a dissertation in toxicology. The primary component is taipoxin, one of the most potent neurotoxins known to science. However, the taipan does not rely solely on paralysis. Its venom is an incredibly complex cocktail where each ingredient enhances the action of the others. Hyaluronidase, a special enzyme that breaks down connective tissues of the victim, features prominently, acting as an icebreaker to ensure that the other toxins are disseminated through the bloodstream at maximum speed. Following this, powerful procoagulants come into play, activating the protein prothrombin and causing the blood to clot right within the vessels. Your circulatory system rapidly transforms into a thick sludge, clogging the capillaries with microclots. As a final blow, myotoxins literally dissolve muscle tissue. Rhabdomyolysis begins almost instantly. Muscles break down, releasing the protein myoglobin, which blocks the renal tubules. An encounter with this desert phantom is a rare phenomenon, but if it happens, the events unfold at a catastrophic pace. Imagine an inexperienced herpes researcher or a lost traveler peeking into a deep clay crevice in search of shade. The taipan is not aggressive. It will try to crawl away until the very last moment. However, if its escape routes are blocked, it will coil into a tight spring, raise its body into an S-shaped stance, and strike. The pain from the bite is a pulsating, burning sensation. Unlike many other snakes, the taipan rarely delivers what is known as a dry bite without injecting venom. It doesn't conserve its ammunition. Just 15 to 20 minutes after the toxin enters the system, systemic effects begin to emerge. The victim experiences a severe splitting headache, nausea, and abdominal cramps. Due to the mass formation of microclots, the body's reserves of blood clotting factors quickly deplete, leading to paradoxical bleeding. Blood seeps from the gums, nasal mucosa, minor injuries, and even from the eyes. Soon, the urine takes on the color of strong black tea or cola as the dissolved muscle fibers exit through failing kidneys. The nervous system starts to malfunction. Vision blurs, eyelids droop, and the tongue becomes unresponsive. If you are bitten by a taipan in the middle of the Australian outback, and you have no satellite phone or rescue helicopter with a bucket of specific antivenom on standby, your best medical kit becomes a shovel and a comfortable spot in the shade to face the inevitable with dignity. Death from respiratory failure and multiple organ shutdown can occur in as little as 45 minutes. You find yourself bleeding out, struggling to breathe due to diaphragm paralysis, and feeling your muscles turning to liquid. Nature has generously prepared you a one-way ticket to the afterlife on an ultra all-inclusive package. The paradox is that despite possessing the most lethal venom of all terrestrial snakes on the planet, the inland taipan is responsible for an exceedingly low number of human fatalities. To date, there have been no reliably confirmed cases of death from its bite, as all rare victims manage to receive timely medical assistance. This quiet, melancholic creature, living in complete solitude, does not seek conflict. Its colossal, excessive biochemical power is aimed solely at securing lunch from local rodents in harsh desert conditions. The taipan is the perfect guardian of the ecological balance in the red center, a living reminder that true strength does not require aggressive promotion. It simply lies dormant in the cracks of parched earth until disturbed. But while the Australian hermit hides from the world, our next hero is accustomed to looking down on it, boldly asserting his rights. We leave behind the dry sands and venture into the impenetrable, humid jungles of Southeast Asia, where the air is thick as molasses and the earth pulsates with decay and life. There, amidst bamboo thickets and ancient temples, resides a creature whose name instills awe even in the most seasoned snake hunters. This is not just any reptile. It is the only snake in the world that builds a nest for its offspring. A cannibal, devouring its own kind. A true monarch, capable of rising to a height equal to that of a human, and looking you straight in the eye before delivering a fateful strike. Prepare to meet the king, the third snake, the king cobra, or the crowned cannibal of the Asian jungles. Immerse yourself in the dense, sticky atmosphere of the tropical forests of Southeast Asia and India. Here, the air is so saturated with moisture and the scents of decaying wood, spices, and wild orchids that it seems you could drink it through a straw. Rays of relentless sunlight pierce through the thick canopy of giant trees, illuminating the moss-covered ruins of ancient Khmer temples and the endless labyrinths of bamboo groves. It is in this damp, green hell, where every rustle may herald an end, that reigns a creature known scientifically as Ophiophagus hanna. Translated from ancient tongues, it means snake eater. However, we refer to it by a far more grandiose, yet entirely deserving title, the king cobra. This is not just another venomous reptile. It is the pinnacle of evolutionary extravagance, a monarch whose power is built on absolute chemical superiority and the primal dread it invokes in all living beings in its path. Let's start with the fact that this is the largest venomous snake on our planet. It can reach an astonishing length of up to 5 and sometimes nearly 6 meters. Imagine a smooth, lustrous serpent gleaming in bronze, olive gold, or deep black. A muscular cord as thick as a man's thigh, silently gliding through the forest floor. But its true uniqueness lies not only in its size. The king cobra is the only snake in the world with the instinct of a true architect. When a female prepares to lay her eggs, she does not merely seek a convenient burrow. She utilizes her powerful body like a bulldozer, gathering dry leaves, branches, and bamboo into a massive pile, constructing a 2-level nest that can reach a height of up to 1 meter. In the lower tier, like in an incubator with the ideal microclimate, the decaying foliage warms her future offspring, while on the upper level, coiled like a deadly ring, lies the queen herself, vigilantly guarding her heirs. And woe betide any wild boar, monitor lizard, or careless human who dares approach this cradle. Furthermore, her diet is a delicate irony of nature. The cannibal cobra feeds almost exclusively on other snakes, including the highly venomous kraits and common cobras. Her digestive system and immune response render the toxins of her rivals ineffective, making the queen herself impervious to their bites. She is a top predator, viewing her scaled kin solely as long, nourishing spaghetti. When the king cobra shifts from patrol mode to attack mode, one of the most impressive and fearsome displays in the animal kingdom unfolds. Sensing a threat, she can raise nearly 1/3 of her incredibly long body vertically. This means that when faced with an adult 5-meter specimen, her head will be about 1.5 meters off the ground. The monarch will literally look you straight in the eyes, cold and assessing. Her neck ribs expand, stretching her flexible skin and forming the infamous hood. But the most terrifying part is the sound. Unlike ordinary snakes, the king cobra does not hiss. Thanks to a unique tracheal structure, she produces a low, vibrating guttural roar, reminiscent of a large dog's deep growl or the sound of a high-voltage transformer booth. This resonating growl penetrates to the bones, triggering the most primal panic centers in the human brain. The mechanics of her strike represent a physics of heavy, relentless impact. The teeth of the king cobra are relatively short for her gigantic size, about 15 millimeters in length, but they are thick and strong, akin to surgical scalpels designed to pierce the tough scales of other reptiles. However, the real horror lies in the venom glands, which are comparable in size to a large almond. The king cobra's venom may not hold records for toxicity per drop, but it compensates with a monstrous astronomical volume. In a single, full bite, the snake can inject up to 7 milliliters of venom, equivalent to approximately 1,000 milligrams in dry weight. This amount of liquid death is enough to kill an adult Asian elephant weighing several tons, provided the bite lands on the soft tissue of the trunk. For a human, a dose many times smaller is sufficient to cross over to the afterlife. The chemical profile of this venom is a concentrated neurotoxic nightmare, with a slight addition of cytotoxins to intensify the pain shock. The main active ingredient in this cocktail is powerful alpha neurotoxins. Once in the bloodstream, they act like an army of perfect saboteurs racing towards the neuromuscular synapses. There, they permanently, irreversibly bind to nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. They literally sever the wires through which your brain sends commands to your body. Let's envision a typical scenario of this fatal encounter. A rubber tapper, or an enthusiastic wildlife photographer, ventures into the cardamom thicket. A step, the snap of a twig, and a bronze totem rises before him. The person freezes, but the instinct for self-preservation forces a sudden retreat. For the cobra, this is a signal for execution. Her strike comes not from below, as is the case with most snakes, but from above. She descends upon her prey with all her weight, sinking her fangs into the shoulder or collarbone. And perhaps most chillingly, she does not release immediately. Her jaws tighten as she makes chewing motions, massaging her glands to inject as much toxic serum into the wound as possible. The sensation of the bite itself feels like being pierced by a heated, rusty nail in the muscle. Enzymes are at work, causing localized inflammation and tissue necrosis. But this searing pain is merely a prelude. Just 15 to 20 minutes later, a massive dose of venom begins to block the nervous system. A wave of intense dizziness washes over you, and the world starts to spin. Then comes the classic neurotoxic symptom, ptosis. Your eyelids feel heavy, making it hard to keep your eyes open. The images before you become blurry and distorted. Facial muscles sag, turning your visage into a lifeless mask. Next, your swallowing reflex fails. Your tongue swells, thick saliva accumulates in your throat, and you begin to choke on your own fluids. A person collapses onto the damp jungle floor, unable to move a single finger. The heart races desperately, trying to compensate for the drop in blood pressure. Yet, just like with the mamba, a chilling clarity of mind remains. You smell the damp scent of decaying leaves, hear the cries of tropical birds, and feel ants crawling across your face, but you're trapped within your own body. Finally, the toxin reaches the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. Breathing halts. Without specific antivenom and a ventilator, a fatality for an adult can occur within half an hour. In some cases, it happens faster than you can realize that your life is coming to an end. However, despite its terrifying potential, the king cobra does not deserve hatred. It is a magnificent, noble predator, a living embodiment of nature's harmony. This snake rarely bites humans without cause. Its intimidating posture and hiss serve as a noble gesture, a warning from the monarch demanding space. By dispatching numerous other venomous snakes, it regulates their population, saving hundreds of human lives annually. To it, we are not prey, but rather an annoying, cumbersome obstacle at the edge of its domain. If you show respect and retreat, the king will graciously allow you to leave unharmed. But not all of nature's killers are so noble or inclined to give warnings. Our journey takes us from the bright Asian jungles to the other side of the globe, into the dense, impenetrable rainforests of Central and South America. There, among rotting trunks and a colorful carpet of fallen leaves, lurks the perfect ambush master, a snake that makes no sound, equipped with a built-in thermal sensor to detect the beating of your warm blood in complete darkness. A creature whose venom does not just paralyze, but literally digests you alive, turning flesh into a black broth. Welcome to the realm of hemotoxins. We are heading to meet the fer-de-lance. Snake number 4, the Bothrops asper, or the velvet demon of Latin American jungles. Leave behind the majestic ruins of Asia, brush off the imaginary cobwebs from your face, and inhale the dense, heavy aroma of the neotropics. We find ourselves at the heart of Central and South America, from the lush forests of Costa Rica to the endless verdant expanse of the Amazon basin. Here, beneath the canopy of giant cebas and rosewood, where the air buzzes with the calls of howler monkeys and the chirping of cicadas, the ground is covered with a thick, decaying blanket of fallen leaves. Hidden within this blanket lies one of the most refined and unavoidable threats on the planet. The locals refer to it as terciopelo, which translates to velvet in Spanish. Scientists have named it the fer-de-lance, or lancehead viper. Regardless of what you call it, the essence remains unchanged. It is an absolute master of camouflage, an unmatched ambush predator, and a true scourge of banana plantations. Unlike the jittery black mamba or the noble cobra, the fer-de-lance will not warn you of its presence. It has no menacing hood, no rattle on its tail, nor any desire to elevate itself dramatically above the ground. Its strategy is total invisibility. Evolution has gifted the lancehead viper with perfect geometric camouflage. Its scales are painted in intricate flowing shades of olive, gray, coffee, and charcoal black, forming patterns that astonishingly resemble shadows of dead leaves, intersecting twigs, and patches of mold on the damp earth. You could stand just inches away from a 2-meter-long, as thick as a fire hose fer-de-lance staring right at it and see nothing except the forest floor. But it sees you. And it doesn't even need eyes to do so. Nature has equipped this reptile with a built-in thermal sensor. Special pits between its nostrils and eyes act as thermal detectors. These highly sensitive receptors pick up the infrared radiation emitted by warm-blooded creatures. Even in the pitch-black, tar-like darkness of a tropical night, the fer-de-lance perceives the world in vivid, pulsating shades of red and yellow. It can detect the heartbeat of hot blood in the veins of a passing rat, or the ankle of an unsuspecting tourist, with precision down to tenths of a degree. Compared to this biological masterpiece, the technology of the extraterrestrial predator from the movie Predator appears to be a flimsy, cheap imitation. When the infrared sensor signals to strike, biomechanics come into play, leaving any engineer in awe. Unlike the short, fixed fangs of pit vipers, the apparatus of the lancehead viper is of the solenoglyphus type. This means that its venomous fangs are enormous hollow needles up to 3 centimeters long, which, at rest, neatly fold back along the roof of the mouth like the blades of a pocket knife. In a split-second strike, the jaw opens to 180 degrees, the movable upper jaw rotates, and the fangs snap forward with a click. The snake strikes with incredible force, piercing through jeans, thick socks, and even the thin skin of hiking boots. The fangs penetrate deep into muscle tissue, and powerful sphincters expel a deadly secretion from the glands. If the venoms of the taipan and cobra act as elegant neurotoxic hackers, silently shutting down your body's systems, then the venom of the kaisak is a brutal, merciless butcher wielding acid and a rusty cleaver. It is a complex, thick cocktail of hemotoxins, cytotoxins, and myotoxins. The leading role here is played by metalloproteinases, aggressive enzymes that literally cut through the peptide bonds in your cellular proteins. Once this yellowish liquid infiltrates your flesh, it initiates an immediate digestive process. Yes, you heard that right. The spear-headed snake begins to digest you alive, even before you succumb. The enzymes methodically destroy the walls of blood vessels, layer by layer, turning them into a sieve. Simultaneously, hemorrhagens activate, obliterating red blood cells and disrupting the entire coagulation cascade. Your body goes into panic. In some areas, blood stops clotting altogether, while in others, deadly clots begin to form. A typical encounter with this velvet executioner lacks any romance. It happens on a coffee plantation at dawn, when a weary harvest worker reaches for a branch, or on a hiking trail, when a traveler steps into the bushes for relief. One step, and the person feels a dull, powerful impact on their leg, as if someone has struck them with a baseball bat studded with nails. By this time, the snake has silently melted into the ferns. In the first moments, the wound may only ooze slightly, but the pain escalates exponentially. It is not the tingling of neurotoxins. It feels as though boiling oil has been injected beneath your skin. The tissue surrounding the bite begins to swell rapidly, changing color from crimson to a bluish black. Within an hour, the limb swells to grotesque, alarming proportions. The skin stretches to its limits, glistening and threatening to burst. This marks the onset of what is known as compartment syndrome. The swelling compresses blood vessels within the muscle fascia, cutting off oxygen supply to healthy tissues and causing them to die off en masse. Enormous, fist-sized blisters filled with dark blood and serum appear at the bite site. If the victim does not receive specific antivenom, the systemic effects of the venom will reveal their horrifying consequences. Due to the destruction of clotting factors, massive internal bleeding begins. Blood seeps from the gums, from the nasal mucosa, from the corners of the eyes, from old scratches and microtraumas. The person literally bleeds out from the inside. The kidneys, trying to filter this toxic brew filled with decaying muscle fibers, become clogged and fail. Death may occur from extensive bleeding in the brain or acute kidney failure. Yet, even if medical intervention can save a life, the Casac venom leaves a terrifying memento. Tissue necrosis often progresses to the point where the only way to save the patient from gangrene is surgical amputation of the darkened, decaying limb. An encounter with the terciopelo is a lottery, where the grand prize is a wooden prosthesis. And yet, despite the alarming statistics of bites throughout Latin America, the gaboon viper is not a creature from hell. It serves as a perfect, silent guardian of the forests and plantations. Without its constant vigilance, populations of tropical rodents would devour all crops within just a few months, leaving local communities to starve and suffer from diseases carried by rat fleas. The gaboon viper does not prey on primates. Its venom, so destructive to us, is designed solely to ensure that a large rat can't scurry more than a couple of meters after being bitten. The blame for bites rests on our own carelessness and blindness to its impeccable natural camouflage. However, if the velvet assassin prefers to hide among the decaying leaves at our feet, the next threat will come from the most unexpected place. We are leaving the humid shadows of the jungle floor and climbing high into the treetops. We return to the scorching African continent to meet a creature with eyes as large as saucers, a body as slender as a grapevine, and venom that causes blood to ooze from every pore of your body. This tree-dwelling sniper breaks all the typical rules of venomous snakes, hiding its lethal fangs deep in its throat. Prepare to look up. We are about to encounter the boomslang. Snake number 5, the African boomslang, or glass-eyed sniper of the savanna. Once more, we journey to the vast expanses of Africa, but this time, our gaze is not fixed on the ground amidst the dry grass and dust. Instead, we look up into the canopies of sprawling acacias and thick thickets of shrubs. Leave your heavy boots behind and lean against the trunk of a tree, for the threat may come from any direction, silently gliding through branches thinner than your pinky. Here, in the realm of birds and tree lizards, resides a creature of astonishing, almost fragile beauty and disproportionately deadly prowess, the African boomslang. In Afrikaans, its name simply means tree snake, which sounds absurdly mundane for a being whose venom makes blood spill from every pore of the human body. It is not a bulky, muscular machine like a cobra or gaboon viper. The boomslang embodies elegance, slender like a vine and reaching lengths of 1.5 to 2 meters, an agile whip. Depending on its gender and habitat, its scales can be vividly emerald, salad green, olive, or rusty brown with black speckles. It blends so perfectly with the foliage that even experienced ornithologists, who spend hours peering at crowns of trees through binoculars, fail to notice its presence until a branch suddenly comes to life. But the most striking feature of the boomslang is its face. It has a disproportionately short, blunt snout and enormous, almost gigantic eyes for a snake, with rounded pupils reminiscent of glass marbles or the large eyes of characters from Japanese anime. These incredible organs of vision, which take up nearly half its head, endow it with superb binocular vision, a remarkable rarity among reptiles. The boomslang does not merely react to movement. It can accurately gauge the distance to a branch, a perched bird, or the face of an unsuspecting person. It observes the world with remarkable clarity, remaining motionless on a branch for hours, hanging the front third of its slender body down, mimicking a vine swaying in the breeze. Birds, tricked by this brilliant camouflage, often land directly on it, unaware that their perch is about to open its mouth. This brings us to an anatomical anomaly that has long preserved the boomslang's reputation among early African explorers. Until the mid-20th century, this snake was considered relatively harmless to humans. Why? Because the boomslang belongs to the Colubrinae family, and its venom delivery system is fundamentally different from that of vipers or cobras. It lacks the large foldable fangs at the front. Instead, it is a rear-fanged snake. Its fangs, short and equipped only with an open groove for venom to flow out, rather than a closed channel, are situated deep in the back of the upper jaw, right below its eyes. For it to use them, the boomslang must not only bite, but also open its mouth extremely wide, almost 170 degrees, and literally chew its venom into the tissues of its prey, deep within the throat. This method is more than enough to kill a chameleon or a tree frog. However, piercing through thick clothing or a large limb of a person with such teeth is physically challenging. This is why past researchers carelessly handled boomslangs with bare hands, not expecting any danger. But this carelessness vanished in 1957 when the renowned American herpetologist Carl Schmitt, working at the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, received a young boomslang for identification. The snake, unwilling to cooperate, twisted and delivered a short, seemingly shallow bite into the fleshy part of the scientist's thumb. Schmitt, completely convinced of the low toxicity of rear-fang snakes, declined medical assistance, opting instead to keep a detailed scientific record of his symptoms. This decision cost him his life, but provided science with one of the most frightening and detailed first-hand accounts of the effects of hemotoxin. The boomslang's venom is a concentrated, slow, and utterly ruthless killer. Unlike the instant paralysis induced by a black mamba, this venom leads to a long, agonizing demise stretched over several days. At the heart of its toxin are potent hemolytic agents that trigger a process known as disseminated intravascular coagulation. Though it sounds complex, it appears like a horror movie scenario in practice. Once entering the bloodstream, the venom causes the blood to form millions of microscopic clots throughout the body. In a panic, the body exhausts all of its reserves of clotting factors and platelets to combat these clots. And when this reserve is depleted, and this occurs within a day, your blood completely loses its ability to coagulate. It transforms into a liquid red substance. Schmidt's notes read like a chronicle of a gradual descent into hell. Initially, he noted a mild chill and nausea. The bite site was almost painless and showed no swelling, which lulled his vigilance. However, after 12 hours, the situation quickly spiraled out of control. He experienced severe bleeding from his gums. By morning, blood began to ooze from his nose and eyes. The venom was slowly breaking down the walls of his capillaries, making them permeable. His urine became thick and red with blood. Massive, unexplained bruises started to appear on his skin. Huge purple-black splotches blossomed on his body from the slightest pressure or contact with his sheets. His internal organs slowly began to drown in their own blood. 24 hours after the fateful bite, suffering from intense abdominal pain due to internal bleeding in the intestines, Carl Schmitt lost consciousness. He died from extensive bleeding in the brain and respiratory paralysis. Until his last moment, he believed that the boomslang, a rear-fanged snake, could not kill him. A typical modern boomslang bite is always the result of extreme misfortune or sheer carelessness. Local fruit gatherers or ornithologists reaching for a nest often overlook the emerald vine amid the leaves. The boomslang is an incredibly shy creature. It detests conflict and always prefers to escape, gliding through the branches with astonishing speed. To provoke it into attacking, one must literally corner it, grab it with their hands, or accidentally press it against a tree trunk. Then it puffs up its neck, attempting to appear larger, and delivers its clumsy yet fatal strike with its mouth wide open. The most treacherous aspect of this bite is the latent period. A person may feel perfectly fine for 10, 12, or sometimes even 20 hours. No pain, no necrosis, no paralysis. The victim goes to bed confidently believing that all is well, only to awaken in a pool of their own blood, flowing from all natural body openings, including microscopic cuts from shaving. By the time the first symptoms of bleeding appear, it is often too late to administer the antivenom, as the internal organs may have already suffered irreversible damage. One would need gallons of donor blood and machines for complete transfusions to have even a ghost of a chance for survival. And yet, this thin, sharp-eyed snake with venom that turns blood into water is not a monster, but a humble custodian of the upper layers of the African bush. The boomslang keeps bird populations in check, preventing them from exploding to catastrophic levels and destroying pollinating insects. It quietly rests in the branches of acacias, coiled in a tight green ring, its large, beautiful eyes carefully observing the sky. We are too large, too harsh, and completely uninteresting to it. Tragedies only occur when we rudely intrude into its aerial realm. But what if we descend from the trees and venture into a place where even the ground beneath our feet ceases to be solid? Let's leave Africa and travel to the other side of the world, to the murky, foul-smelling swamps and boggy wetlands of the southeastern United States. There, among cypress trees draped in gray Spanish moss and dark, stagnant waters, lives a creature whose venom does not just kill, but also leaves grotesque, rotting wounds on its victim's body. This snake does not flee. Instead, it coils tightly, opens its mouth as white as cotton, and waits for you to make a mistake. Put on your tallest rubber boots. We are entering the dark waters of the water moccasin. Snake number 6, the water moccasin, or the white-toothed nightmare of American swamps. Take off your sneakers, slip on the tallest, thickest boots you can find, and brace yourself for an immersion in one of the darkest, most inhospitable landscapes of North America. We are heading to the deep, humid south of the United States. From the muddy, lily-covered bayous of Louisiana to the endless, alligator-infested swamps of the Florida Everglades. The air here is not just hot, it is thick, like a wet wool blanket, absolutely saturated with the heavy scent of decaying vegetation, mud, and sulfur. From the branches of massive swamp cypress trees hang scraggly beards of Spanish moss, while the dark, still waters hide ancient predators. In this eerie Gothic atmosphere, where each step through the sticky mud is a challenge, resides the water moccasin, or as locals chillingly refer to it, the cottonmouth. This is not the elegant swift mamba, nor the delicate translucent boomslang. This is a massive, heavy, evolutionarily designed killing machine of amphibians and fish, boasting an unpleasant temperament and venom that transforms human flesh into a black, necrotic sludge. The appearance of the water moccasin is a tribute to functional brutality. Reaching lengths of 1.5 to nearly 2 meters, it has an incredibly thick, muscular body that resembles a swollen fire hose and a short, blunt, almost triangular head that sharply separates from the neck. The coloration of this reptile is a masterpiece of swamp camouflage, ranging from olive brown to nearly coal black, adorned with barely discernible, blurred, dark crossbands. When the moccasin lies motionless on a partially submerged log or coils within dense reed thickets, it is nearly impossible to distinguish it from a piece of decaying wood or mud. But its true calling card is its defensive behavior. Unlike most snakes that prefer to quickly retreat into the water or bushes when encountering humans, the cottonmouth often opts for a strategy of silent, menacing defense. Sensing the vibrations of footsteps, it coils into a tight, spring-like spiral, slightly raises its front body, lifts its head, and gapes its mouth wide, nearly 180 degrees. This is when an unsuspecting fisherman or tourist is confronted with a horrifying sight. The inner surface of the snake's mouth is dazzlingly white, contrasting starkly with its dark scales, resembling a piece of pure cotton. This is a visual scream, the final warning before the fangs come into play. The venomous apparatus of the water rattlesnake is structured in a solenoglifous manner, typical for all pit vipers. This means it possesses long, hollow fangs, resembling medical needles, which fold against the roof of the mouth and spring forward instantly when attacking. However, unlike the slender fangs of a crate, the fangs of the cottonmouth are thick, robust, and designed to pierce the tough scales of fish, the shells of turtles, and the slippery skin of amphibians. The strike of the snake is neither elegant nor as lightning fast as that of a taipan. It's a heavy, jarring, battering hit, primarily aimed at the ankle or calf of someone wading through shallow water. The rattlesnake doesn't bite and release. It bites down, driving its fangs deep into the muscle, and with a powerful contraction of its glands, injects a massive dose of venom. The chemical composition of this venom is a classic hemotoxic and cytotoxic cocktail, but it has a pronounced focus on total, merciless tissue destruction. It contains no elegant neurotoxins that silently shut down respiration. The venom of the water rattlesnake operates roughly, messily, and with excruciating pain. The main destructive force lies in the proteolytic enzymes, which literally digest the proteins that make up the foundation of muscle fibers and the walls of blood vessels. As soon as this thick, yellowish liquid enters the bloodstream, a local apocalypse begins. Picture a typical bite scenario. A duck hunter or simply a nature enthusiast navigates through dense stands of sedge at the edge of a swamp. The water reaches mid-calf, the bottom is muddy, and every step is a struggle. Suddenly, from beneath a floating log that he was about to lean on, comes the strike. The impact feels like a sharp hammer blow, accompanied by a searing, piercing pain from the penetrating fangs. The person recoils, horrified to see a thick, dark snake with a white mouth slipping away into the murky water. From that moment, time counts down in minutes. The pain from a rattlesnake bite is not just severe, it's pulsating, intensifying, as if acid was poured under the skin and ignited. Within the first 15 to 20 minutes, the bite site begins to swell rapidly, changing color from crimson to bluish, and then to a deadly pale. The venom reacts immediately with the tissues. Enzymes begin to break down the endothelium of blood vessels, causing localized hemorrhaging. Blood saturates the muscles, forming giant, painful bruises. But the most terrifying aspect is necrosis. Unlike many other venoms, the toxin of the cottonmouth possesses a horrific ability to induce rapid cell death. The tissues surrounding the bite wound start to blacken, soften, and rot before your very eyes. Enormous blisters, filled with blood and serum, form on the skin, bursting to expose oozing, foul-smelling wounds that can reach down to the bone. The swelling spreads upward along the limb at an alarming pace, compressing nerves and arteries. If the bite occurs on a finger or wrist, which often happens to careless snake catchers, the risk of losing the limb due to gangrene significantly increases. The systemic effects of the venom from the water moccasin leave little hope for a smooth recovery. Damaged muscle fibers enter the bloodstream, leading to severe intoxication and putting immense strain on the kidneys. The victim experiences intense vomiting, a drop in blood pressure, cold sweats, and tachycardia. If polyvalent antivenom is not administered within the first few hours, anaphylactic shock, acute kidney failure, and, in rare cases, death can occur. Even if the patient's life is saved, the venom leaves behind harrowing scars, both physical and psychological. The rehabilitation process following extensive necrosis can take many months, requiring skin grafts and multiple surgical procedures to remove necrotic tissue. Yet, despite its fearsome reputation and the horrific outcomes that follow its bites, the water moccasin is not merely a malevolent swamp monster. It serves as a crucial part of the wetland ecosystems of North America. As a top predator in its niche, it regulates populations of rodents, amphibians, and even smaller snakes, maintaining the delicate balance in habitats where life and death are in constant flux. Its venom is not a weapon of mass destruction, but a survival tool in a fierce competitive environment where prey is slippery, quick, and often trying to escape. The cottonmouth does not bite humans out of an innate bloodthirst, but out of fear, when a huge, clumsy person invades its personal space and disregards its bold, white warning signs. However, as terrifying as the necrotic venom of the moccasin is, it pales in comparison to the calamity brought by our next entry on this grim list. We leave the American swamps and return to the densely populated, vibrant regions of India and Southeast Asia. Our next target is not a reclusive creature hiding in the wilderness. This snake prefers to live alongside humans, hunting rats in barns, rice fields, and even creeping into huts at night. Though small, its venom is extraordinarily potent, and it is responsible for hundreds of thousands of human fatalities. Prepare to meet the true angel of death of the Asian nights. We are introduced to the Indian crate. Snake number 7, the Indian crate, or the midnight slayer of Asian huts. Leave behind the foul-smelling American swamps and the primal wilderness of impenetrable forests. We return to a place where nature and human civilization are tightly intertwined in a tragic manner. Welcome to the Indian subcontinent, a boiling crucible of life where over 1 billion people share every square meter of land with a staggering array of wildlife. The air is filled with aromas of curry, burnt cow dung, thick tropical dust, and blooming jasmine. Rural India showcases endless patchwork quilts of rice fields, mud huts with thatched roofs, and warm, muggy nights. It is within this setting, close to sleeping humans, that the activities of a creature rightfully included in the so-called Big Four of Asia's deadliest snakes unfold. This is the Indian crate, also known as the blue crate, a cold-blooded assassin with a hunting strategy so cunning that its victim often doesn't awaken to realize their impending death. Unlike the alarming warnings of a rattlesnake or the dramatic displays of a cobra, the crate operates with the grace of a highly skilled professional hitman, relying on its greatest assets: complete silence and local anesthesia. The appearance of this reptile is deceptively elegant. The crate does not capture the imagination with colossal dimensions. An adult rarely exceeds a length of 5 feet. Its body is slender and incredibly flexible, adorned with smooth, glossy scales that shimmer a deep, inky black, with almost a lacquer-like sheen under the moonlight. Delicately paired, thin white rings are spaced with mathematical precision along its entire body, giving it the look of an expensive designer belt carelessly dropped onto the road. During the day, this creature exemplifies meekness and pacifism. The crate hides in burrows, under piles of bricks, or among tree roots, curling up loosely and, if disturbed, lazily tucking its head under its body, seldom attempting to bite. But as soon as the sun sets and a velvety tropical night envelops the village, this modest melancholic transforms into a ruthless, active, and aggressive predator. The crate is a herpetological vampire whose metabolism craves the coolness of the night for ideal hunting of mice, frogs, and, ironically, other snakes. The anatomy of the Indian krait's venom apparatus is typical of the Elapidae family to which it belongs. Its fangs, located at the front of the upper jaw, are tiny, measuring only about 2 to 3 millimeters in length. They are so small that they resemble delicate glass needles. Piercing through thick jeans or leather boots is nearly impossible for the krait, but that's not necessary. The entire strategy of this nocturnal hunter is built on striking exposed, soft skin. And the most paradoxical, frightening aspect of its bite is the complete lack of pain. The venom of the Indian krait does not contain aggressive cytotoxins that dissolve flesh. It lacks enzymes that cause swelling or inflammation. When the tiny fangs penetrate the skin, the victim experiences, at worst, a slight, barely noticeable prick, indistinguishable from a nuisance mosquito bite or a scratch from dry grass. There is no blood or redness, just 2 microscopic pinpricks barely visible in the dark. However, what enters the bloodstream through these tiny openings is one of the most sophisticated and irreversible venoms on the planet. The chemical composition of the Indian krait's secretions is a masterpiece of neurotoxic engineering, primarily composed of alpha bungarotoxins and beta bungarotoxins. While the alpha toxins work in a classic way by blocking receptors on muscle surfaces, the beta bungarotoxins act as deep penetrators, presynaptic disruptors. They infiltrate directly into the nerve endings and physically destroy the synaptic vesicles that store acetylcholine. In simpler terms, they don't just sever the communication lines between the brain and muscles, they obliterate the substation itself. The toxicity of this cocktail is remarkable. Its lethal dose 50 is several times stronger than the venom of an ordinary cobra. Just 2 or 3 milligrams of the dry substance can result in a fatal outcome, while a bite from a krait, which involves a characteristic chewing motion for better secretion delivery, can release up to 20 milligrams. The scenario of contact with a human is like a ready-made plot for a psychological thriller. Imagine a stifling Indian night. There are no air conditioners in the village. People sleep on the floor with thin mats spread out, or on low rope cots right in their yards. As night falls, the temperature drops, and a cold-blooded krait in search of a comfortable warm source silently creeps into a house like a stream of dark water. A human body radiating a steady 36.6 degrees seems like the perfect radiator. The snake coils up under the blanket, next to the leg or arm of the sleeping farmer. Everything goes smoothly until the person, in their sleep, decides to roll over. One careless movement crushes the reptile under their weight. Alarmed, the krait strikes quickly. The sleeping person reflexively pulls their hand back, perhaps swatting at what feels like an insect, mumbling something incoherent before falling asleep again. No pain, no panic. The snake quietly slithers away through a gap under the door. The clock starts ticking. The toxin slowly disperses through the bloodstream and lymphatic system without encountering any resistance. An hour goes by, then 2, then 3. Closer to dawn, the first phase begins. The sleeper starts to feel sharp, intense cramps in their abdomen, resembling severe food poisoning or an appendicitis attack. This poison interferes with the autonomic nervous system, causing the smooth muscles of the intestines to contract uncontrollably. The person wakes up in the dark, writhing from the pain in their stomach. They try to stand up to call for help from family, but suddenly, with chilling horror, they realize that their legs have turned to jelly. They attempt to scream, but only a dull, gurgling croak escapes from their throat. Bulbar paralysis sets in. The facial muscles droop, their jaw hangs helplessly, and swallowing becomes impossible. Thick saliva accumulates in the airways. Yet the worst part is the ptosis. Their eyelids become heavy, completely shutting their eyes. The victim remains in absolute crystal-clear awareness. Their brain functions perfectly, sending desperate, panicked signals to every muscle, but the response is only the suffocating silence of a lifeless body. The person is trapped inside their own corpse. In rural India, such morning awakenings are often mistaken for strokes, curses from demons, or mysterious illnesses, wasting precious time in prayers or summoning local shamans instead of rushing to the hospital. Meanwhile, the neurotoxin reaches the diaphragm, the chest ceases to expand, asphyxia sets in. The heart, desperately pumping blood in a body starved of oxygen, eventually comes to a stop. Even if the victim is rushed to intensive care and administered a large dose of polyvalent antivenom, a tragic reality unfolds. The serum neutralizes only the toxins still circulating in the bloodstream. It is powerless against the beta-bungarotoxins that have already infiltrated nerve endings and begun to destroy them. The neuromuscular transmission is physically disrupted. The only way to save the individual is to immediately connect them to a mechanical ventilator and wait a week, 2, or even a month for the body to regrow new nerve terminals. In the setting of an impoverished rural hospital, this often sounds like a fantasy. The mortality rate from crates without proper resuscitative support approaches 80%. Nonetheless, this nocturnal demon in its glossy attire harbors no hatred towards us. It is a crucial, irreplaceable cog in the ecological machine of South Asia. Without the vast population of Indian crates methodically clearing fields and granaries of rodents, mouse hordes would obliterate all rice and wheat reserves within mere months, condemning millions to starvation and outbreaks of bubonic plague. The crate does not seek the warmth of our bodies out of malice. It is simply cold and looking for warmth. We have created the circumstances in which our granaries are filled with its prey, and our huts are open for nightly visits. This is a fragile, tragic symbiosis where humans pay lives for free pest control. However, while the crate kills in absolute silence, leaving no traces and causing no pain, our next encounter will provide a stark contrast. We leave the humid Indian villages and venture into the arid, rocky wastelands of the Middle East and North Africa. Brace yourself to cover your ears, for we will encounter a creature that does not know how to be silent. It does not hiss like typical snakes. Instead, it rubs its serrated scales against one another, producing a continuous, sinister sound, reminiscent of droplets of water hitting a hot skillet. This tiny, nervous reptile moves sideways, leaving strange parallel tracks in the sand, and possesses a venom that will have you begging for a quick death from neurotoxins. We step onto the territory of the sand viper. Snake number 8, the sand viper, or the screeching reaper of arid wastelands. Leave behind the humid jungles and the stench of Asian nights. We are transported to a world where life is measured not by rainfall, but by the capacity to survive in conditions where the sun scorches all living things, and each breath is filled with prickly dust. This is the belt of deserts and semi-deserts, from the searing sands of the Sahara to the rocky plateaus of Central Asia and the dry savannas of India. Here, in the realm of endless mirages and parched land baked by heat, resides a creature whose size can lead to fatal misconceptions. The sand viper is a small, almost unremarkable snake, whose length rarely exceeds 70 or 80 centimeters. It looks like a chunk of dried clay that has been randomly brought to life by the effects of an abnormal heat. However, don't let its modest size deceive you. In global statistics on snakebite mortality, the horned viper ranks almost at the top. It is the undisputed leader in the number of human fatalities, thriving in places devoid of hospitals, anti-venom, or hope for salvation. One of the first things you will learn about the horned viper, even before you catch a glimpse of it, is the sound it makes. Unlike other reptiles that use their lungs to produce menacing hisses, the horned viper has chosen a far more sinister method. Its side scales are equipped with sharp, saw-like ridges. When threatened, the snake coils into a tight figure-8 formation and begins to make rhythmic, vibrating movements, rubbing parts of its body against one another. The result is a continuous, dry, rattling noise, reminiscent of water dripping onto a hot cast-iron skillet. This sound serves not just as a warning, it is a symphony of death echoing through barren, scorched canyons. It penetrates the subconscious, instilling primal fear in any creature with ears. The horned viper does not flee. It is always prepared for a fight, perpetually in a state of intense, almost neurotic focus. Its method of locomotion also reveals its desert origins. It employs the infamous sidewinding movement. Rather than slithering forward like a typical snake, it propels its body outward, leaving parallel tracks in the sand that resemble dashed lines. This allows it to minimize contact with the scorching ground and swiftly navigate through the loose substrate, which gives way to any other movement. But its primary weapon is its venom and response speed. The strike of this snake occurs faster than the human brain can process the danger. It strikes with incredible accuracy, often targeting the face or hands, especially if a person attempts to touch a rock under which it hides from the daytime heat. The venom of the sand viper is nothing short of a potent hemotoxic cocktail, aimed at the complete and total destruction of your blood. While a crate is a killer that uses neurotoxins, the horned viper is a liquefier. Its secret contains unique enzymes, metalloproteinases, that cut through the proteins responsible for blood clotting with surgical precision, while simultaneously attacking the walls of capillaries. The aftermath of a horned viper bite is a true encyclopedia of medical horrors. Initially, a severe swelling appears, spreading from the bite site throughout the limb, inducing unbearable pain. But the most terrifying effects unfold later. A few hours after the incident, the victim begins to literally bleed out from every possible place. Kidneys fail as they become clogged, with hemoglobin from destroyed red blood cells. Imagine a person stuck in a remote Afghan or Indian village after being bitten by a horned viper. There is no antidote available for them. At first, he experiences nothing but sharp pain, followed by dizziness. By morning, the individual discovers that his entire body is covered in bruises, and blood is seeping from his gums, tinting his saliva pink. The death is agonizing, whether due to hypovolemic shock or acute kidney failure. What's most horrifying is that the EFA, unlike the crates, doesn't strike instantly. It allows its victim to feel the full terror of dying, dragging out the process over several days. Meanwhile, it remains utterly indifferent to the suffering. It simply wants you to leave its desert, where every living creature is either its meal, a competitor, or a threat. The EFA is responsible for thousands of deaths each year simply because it encounters humans so frequently. It loves to hide beneath bushes along roads, in the shade of rocks where shepherds rest, and even in urban outskirts, venturing in search of rodents. It is not aggressive in the human sense. It has merely existed in kill or be killed mode for the past 10 million years. For it, we are not prey, but an irritating obstacle in its quest for survival. Yet for the people living in these arid regions, the EFA embodies death itself, always lurking nearby, rustling in the bushes, ready to prove that humans in the desert are most unwelcome guests. But if the sand EFA is the queen of the rocky wasteland, our next character favors different extreme conditions. We head to the seashore, to mangrove thickets and coral reefs. Where the boundary between land and ocean blurs, there exists a creature that has accomplished the impossible. It has completely severed its ties with the land and submerged itself in water. Its venom is dozens of times stronger than that of any other snake we've previously mentioned, and its body has evolved into a living paddle. Prepare yourselves as we dive into the salty waters, home to the Belcher's sea snake. One touch of it, and the ocean will become your grave. Snake number 9. The Belcher's sea snake, or the invisible thread of ocean depths. Leave behind the scorching sands of the deserts, where each step is accompanied by the dry rustle of the EFA. We are diving. We are leaving the solid ground, which seemed like the only safe haven, and submerging into the salty, undulating depths of the ocean. Welcome to a world where gravity feels different, and breathing becomes a luxury, granted only temporarily. Along the coasts of Southeast Asia, in the tangled labyrinth of mangrove roots, among coral reefs, and in the murky mouths of tropical rivers that flow into the ocean, resides a creature that has made the most radical evolutionary leap among all reptiles on this planet. This is the Belcher's sea snake. It does not merely swim, it has definitively turned its back on dry land. Its tail, once a support for crawling, has transformed into a flat, powerful fin, making its body resemble a living torpedo. It is the true master of the aquatic realm, whose venom reaches such levels of toxicity that nature itself seems to have been frightened by its own creation. The appearance of the Belcher's sea snake is a testament to deceptive simplicity. She is slender and of medium size, typically around 1 meter long, adorned with a beautiful contrasting pattern of yellow and dark gray rings that helps her blend into the vibrant play of light and shadow among the corals. Her eyes are slightly raised, and her nostrils are equipped with special valves that seal tightly when she dives. This allows her to remain underwater for several hours, absorbing oxygen even through her skin. But don't let her graceful, almost fragile appearance lull you into a false sense of security. Sea snakes of this species are not the slow-moving creatures you might have seen in aquariums. They are highly specialized hunters with a metabolism fine-tuned for one singular purpose: to kill fish instantly, before the prey can twitch its tail and disappear into a crevice of the reef. The venom of the Belcher's sea snake is the epitome of neurotoxic power. In toxicological circles, she is referred to as the Queen of Venom. Just a single drop of this liquid is enough to kill 1,000 people. While the venom of a cobra is a powerful strike, the venom of this snake acts as a molecular disruptor, targeting the receptors of the nervous system. Its primary components are potent myoneurotoxins and neurotoxins that block the transmission of nerve impulses to muscle fibers at such speed that the victim does not even have time to feel fear. The fish bitten by a Belcher's snake instantly shuts down its respiratory center and its heart stops. For a human, this means that even a minuscule amount of venom entering the bloodstream from an accidental bite can lead to paralysis of the whole body in mere minutes. The scenario of an encounter most often happens not with divers, but with those who work at sea. Fishermen pulling nets from murky coastal waters often bring aboard snakes that have become entangled in the mesh. At that moment, the snake is in a state of extreme stress. It does not want to attack. It wants to escape from this nylon prison. But if someone carelessly grabs it by hand, trying to free it from the gear, the inevitable occurs. A sea snake bite is often labeled dry. It does not always inject venom, saving it for hunting. However, if it decides to use its arsenal, you won't even feel it. Continue with your tasks, and then continue with your tasks, and then suddenly, within 5 minutes, you realize that your legs are no longer responding. Your hands cannot grip, and breathing becomes impossible. The paralysis of the diaphragm happens so quickly that a person often simply loses consciousness, collapsing onto the boat's floor. Without immediate hospitalization and the administration of specific antivenom, there is little chance of survival in open water. What's most astounding about the Belcher's sea snake is its demeanor towards humans. It is perhaps the least confrontational snake on our list. It never chases divers, shows no aggression, and when encountered in its natural habitat, simply swims away into the depths, its rings shimmering. All recorded instances of bites are almost always the result of accidental, painful encounters, often when the snake has been squashed or attempted to be grabbed. This creature is a true ocean wanderer, boundaryless, whose venomous power is designed for hunting deep-sea fish in coral mazes, not for battling large terrestrial mammals. To it, we are gigantic, clumsy beasts, and our presence in its watery domain only stirs a desire to escape as far as possible. Its existence serves as a reminder of how far evolution can go in its quest for perfection. It has found a way to thrive in an environment where breathing must happen in the air, while hunting is done underwater. It has developed venom that doesn't require quantity, as it operates on a cellular biochemical level. The Belcher's sea snake is a living lesson that in nature, true strength doesn't need to be showcased. It simply exists, swimming in the salty depths, and it will remain there for millions of years unless we, in our relentless pursuit of conquering the ocean, destroy its home. But we must move on. Our journey takes us from the ocean's depths back to the mountains, into cold, rocky gorges where thin air and harsh winters have shaped an entirely different type of predator. We head toward Central Asia and the Caucasus. There, among stones that heat up by day and frost over by night, lives a snake with a head reminiscent of an arrowhead and a body colored to match granite. This creature is a master of the mountainous landscape, and its venomous strike is so swift you might not even notice its movements. Prepare to meet the viper. Snake number 10. The viper, or the leviathan of rocky slopes. Forget the humid tropics and salty marine depths. We ascend to where the air is thin and the rocks are sharp as blades. Our path leads through the sun-scorched gorges of the Caucasus, Transcaucasia, Central Asia, and the Middle East. This is a landscape where life teeters on the edge of thermal madness. By day, the stones heat up to the point they're untouchable, and at night, temperatures plunge near freezing. In this world of eternal winds, steep inclines, and sparse vegetation resides a true giant among vipers, the Levantine viper, more commonly known to us as the gurza. This snake's name comes from the Persian word gurz, which means mace, a primitive weapon that crushes bones. And believe me, this reptile fully lives up to its name, being the most formidable and aggressive predator in its range. The gurza embodies massive power. Unlike the slender, elegant boomslang or the agile crate, the gurza is a heavyweight. An adult can exceed 1.5 meters in length, with a wide, flattened body that blends seamlessly with the colors of mountain granite, gray limestone, or reddish clay. Its triangular large head with powerful jaws hides long, needle-like fangs, capable of delivering a strike strong enough to be felt through thick leather boots. She is a master of ambush, capable of lying perfectly still for hours, or even days, waiting for a gopher, a quail, or a large lizard to come into her line of sight. However, if disturbed, she instantly transforms. From being a stone, she becomes a living spring, able to launch her heavy body half her own length. Her venom apparatus is a remarkable delivery system for death. The fangs of the horned viper can reach up to 2 centimeters in length, making them some of the longest among all venomous snakes in the Old World. When she strikes, it's not just a bite, it's a deep, penetrating stab into the muscles, accompanied by an immediate release of a colossal amount of toxin. The venom of the horned viper is a complex hemotoxic cocktail containing enzymes that literally break down the walls of blood vessels and destroy the structure of the blood. Additionally, it includes powerful cytotoxins that cause extensive necrosis and neurotoxins that affect the cardiovascular system. When it enters the human body, this venom triggers not merely swelling, but a true systemic collapse. The scenario of a horned viper bite is a classic tragedy set in mountainous terrain. A shepherd guiding a flock over a pass, or a climber deciding to take a break, may not even notice the gray snake lying hidden among the rocks. The horned viper's reaction to intrusion is both rapid and furious. She doesn't just bite, she hangs onto her prey, trying to embed her fangs as deeply as possible and release her entire stock of venom. The pain is immediate, sharp and searing, as if molten lead has been poured into the wound. Within minutes, the bite area begins to redden and subsequently turns blue. Swelling develops at a frightening pace. Within an hour, an arm or leg may double in size. The blood, losing its ability to clot, begins to ooze from the wounds, and then from all mucous membranes. The most terrifying aspect of the horned viper's venom is its effect on the heart. The toxins cause a drastic drop in blood pressure, severe tachycardia, and profound damage to the myocardium. A person may experience nausea, vomiting, dizziness, often accompanied by delirium and loss of consciousness. If specific antivenom is not administered within the next few hours, and in the mountains, where help may take days to arrive, this task is almost impossible. The consequences become irreversible. Tissue necrosis can affect deep layers of muscle, leading to gangrene, while kidney and liver failure due to toxemia from tissue breakdown seals the fate. The horned viper is a snake that leaves no room for error. Yet, despite this reputation, the horned viper is an integral part of the mountain ecosystem, without which the balance would be disrupted. She is the supreme controller of rodent populations which threaten the meager grain supplies in mountain villages. She does not seek us out. All she wants is to be left alone on her sun-baked rocks. Her aggressiveness is merely a defense of her right to exist in a harsh world, where every gram of energy spent on hunting matters. We leave behind the dry mountain slopes and enter a world where nature has created a true master of illusion. We return to the rainforests of Central America to encounter a creature that has a unique rattle at the end of its tail. Though not like that of a rattlesnake, this snake uses the tip of its tail as a lure, mimicking a worm. It's a silent ghost of the forest, capable of making you forget about pain while your body gradually transforms into something indescribable. We're here to visit the Schlegel's viper. Snake number 11. The eyelash viper, or the tropical crown's pearl of death. Leave behind the rugged mountain ranges and step into a realm where the humidity reaches 100%, and every leaf breathes life. We're in the dense, impenetrable forests of Central and South America, from Costa Rica to Colombia. Here, in the treetops, among vibrant orchids and bromeliads, resides a creature that seems to have stepped out of a surrealist painting. This is the Schlegel's viper, or eyelash viper. Its name derives from the unique scales above its eyes that protrude upwards, resembling long, elegant eyelashes. This makeup gives it the appearance of a fantastical, almost toy-like being, but beneath this delicate exterior lies one of the most sophisticated and dangerous hunters in the reptile world. The eyelash viper is a master of color camouflage, unrivaled in nature. It can be bright lemon yellow, spotted like tree bark, colored like moss, or even a deep, toxic shade of pink. It does not slither along the ground. It is a dwelling of the canopy, a professional tree climber that spends its life coiled around a slender branch. Its hunting strategy is the epitome of natural laziness transformed into deadly artistry. It remains motionless on the branch, becoming completely still, and begins to fish. Remarkably, the tail of this viper, bright yellow and contrasting with its body, acts as a lure. The snake slowly undulates it, mimicking the movements of a caterpillar or worm. A curious bird or lizard, drawn by this slight movement, approaches, and that's when the explosion happens. The strike of Schlegel's viper is lightning fast. Its mouth opens 180 degrees, Long, folding fangs sink into the victim's body, and powerful muscles inject venom that acts nearly instantaneously. The venom of the eyelash viper is a complex cocktail containing potent metalloproteinases, hemorrhagens, and necrosis-inducing factors. Unlike the heavy joro or the squeaky puff adder, the venom of the Schlegel's viper works like a chemical bomb aimed at the total destruction of cellular structures. A typical bite scenario occurs when an unsuspecting fruit picker or tourist, attempting to navigate through thick underbrush, accidentally brushes against a branch where the snake is hidden. The bite often hits the hand, shoulder, or face. The person experiences only a sharp, burning sensation, but just minutes later, a festival of destruction begins. Not just swelling occurs at the site of the bite, the tissue literally starts to break down. The venomous enzymes begin to break down collagen and connective tissue, turning muscle fibers into a semi-liquid state. Just a few hours after the bite, massive, dark purple-black blisters filled with blood form on the skin. The pain becomes unbearable, pulsating as if heated needles were inserted beneath the skin. However, the most treacherous aspect is the systemic impact. The venom infiltrates the bloodstream and starts to eradicate platelets. Blood loses its ability to clot. Bleeding from the gums, nose, and even from old scars that had previously healed begins. The kidneys, struggling to filter the breakdown products of tissues, can fail within just a few days. If the bite from a Schlegel's pit viper is not treated with a specific antivenom, the consequences for the body are either amputation of the affected limb or death from multiple organ failure. Yet, looking at this small, brightly colored creature adorned with eyelashes, it's hard to believe in the horror it can unleash. It is not aggressive, it simply seeks to feed. It is a crucial regulator of insects and small vertebrates that would otherwise devastate the fragile ecosystem of the tropical forest. It is a living gemstone hanging on a branch, best left untouched if you do not wish to witness your own body turning to dust under the effects of its venom. But let's leave the tropics and venture into another realm, where nature has crafted a snake that is both deadly and astonishingly intelligent. We return to Africa, this time to the shores of rivers and lakes. Here resides a snake whose eyes are positioned on top of its head, allowing it to observe the world while its body is fully submerged in water. It is a master of swimming and hunting, possessing scales that glimmer in the sunlight like polished gold. Its venom is pure neurotoxic terror, capable of shutting down the nervous system within minutes. We are introducing the water cobra. Snake number 12, the water cobra, or the golden ghost of African rivers. We are leaving the humid jungles of Central America and moving to the very heart of the African continent. Here, in the deep, dark waters of the Congo River Basin and in the crystal-clear lakes of Tanganyika and Malawi, resides a creature known to few. However, those who have encountered it in its native habitat remember the experience for a lifetime. This is the water cobra, a unique serpent that harmonizes the proud posture of a hooded cobra with the amphibious lifestyle of a sea snake. It embodies the spirit of the river, its scales shimmering in hues of ancient gold, olive bronze, or deep black velvet, concealing a venomous arsenal capable of neutralizing any foe in mere moments. The water cobra is an astonishing example of convergent evolution. Visually, it bears a resemblance to its terrestrial sister, the famous Egyptian cobra, but its body is perfectly adapted for swimming. It is more robust and flattened at the sides towards the rear, transforming the snake into an efficient fin. Its eyes and nostrils are set high on its head, allowing it to keep watch over the world, while the rest of its body remains hidden beneath the mirror-like surface of the water. She spends most of her time in rivers, diving to depths of up to 7 meters in search of fish, which make up nearly her entire diet. Her grace in the water is captivating. She glides through the depths like a strip of dark silk, barely disturbing the tranquility of the river. However, even though the snake avoids land, her venomous apparatus is a classic, perfected weapon of the cobras. If you encounter her in the water, which can happen if you're an uncareful swimmer or a fisherman who wanders too far into the murky depths, she won't display aggression. But if she senses a threat, she will do what all cobras do. She raises the front part of her body above the water's surface, unfurls her narrow yet fearsome hood, and emits a low, warning hiss. In the aquatic environment, this gesture appears even more intimidating than it does on land. The venom of the water cobra is a potent neurotoxic cocktail designed to instantly block neuromuscular impulses. It contains postsynaptic neurotoxins that bind to acetylcholine receptors with nearly absolute efficiency. This means that when the venom enters a person's bloodstream, the respiratory centers are shut down before the victim even realizes the danger. Unlike hemotoxic venoms, which destroy tissues and cause necrosis, this venom acts cleanly. You won't feel pain at the site of the bite or see a swelling limb. Instead, you'll experience your body suddenly becoming alien and unresponsive. Imagine a scenario of such an encounter. A person enters a backwater to gather algae or just for a refreshing swim. A sudden movement, the snake's fright, a brief, sharp contact, and now you're swimming toward the shore, feeling as if your legs have turned heavy, as if filled with lead. Within 15 minutes, muscle weakness sets in. Another 10 minutes later, you may find it impossible to keep your eyelids open, the very ptosis that plagues us throughout all the chapters. Then paralysis spreads to the larynx and chest. In the African wilderness, far from medical facilities where there are no respirators or antidotes, this golden ghost of rivers becomes a death sentence. Death occurs quietly, calmly, and inevitably, as if the river itself embraces you in its cold grasp. But the water cobra is not a swimmer killer. She is the apex predator of Africa's aquatic ecosystems. She regulates fish populations, maintaining the health of rivers and lakes. To her, we are merely a bothersome, oversized object best avoided. She fears us more than we fear her. Her venom is an evolutionary response to the need to kill fast, slippery fish in situations where any delay means losing her catch. We are far too large to be her meal, so she will always prefer to retreat into the depths, dissolving into the darkness of the water, leaving us unbothered. We are approaching the end of our cycle. We have witnessed snakes that kill with blood, neurons, necrosis, and paralysis. We have seen ambush masters, nocturnal assassins, and water phantoms. But there remains one final snake. She is a legend, a symbol of fear and grandeur, a creature whose name inspires dread even in the most fearless explorers. She thrives in the harshest environments, wields the most notorious weapon in the world, and stands as the ultimate icon among all scaled predators. By now, you may have guessed whom I'm talking about. Brace yourself as we venture one last time into the realm of utmost danger. We are heading to meet the queen of the deserts, the rattlesnake. Snake number 13, the western diamondback rattlesnake, or the desert philosopher with an iron argument. We've reached the conclusion of our journey through the shadowy corners of the reptile world. Leave behind the mysterious waters of Africa. Forget the tropical forests and rocky ravines. We are heading straight into the heart of the North American prairies, to the sun-drenched canyons of Arizona and the vast, arid plains of Texas. Here, under the relentless sky, amidst spiky cacti and parched earth, resides a creature that needs no introduction. It is known by all, from the heroes of classic westerns to children watching cartoons. This is the western diamondback rattlesnake, a snake whose name has become synonymous with lethal danger and whose tail's sound is the most recognizable signal in the natural world. This predator is not merely a hunter. It is the desert philosopher that will try its best to avoid conflict, but if you cross the line, it will demonstrate to you that millions of years of evolution were not in vain. The rattlesnake embodies raw, heavy, almost tangible power, a large, hefty reptile with a muscular body covered in a complex geometric pattern of dark diamonds, perfectly blending into the gray soil and dry grass. But the key feature, of course, is the rattle. It is not just a growth. It is a sophisticated, vibrating organ made up of hardened segments that the snake adds to with each molt. When the rattlesnake senses a threat, it swiftly vibrates the tip of its tail, creating that unmistakable dry, piercing crack that sends chills down the spine of any mammal. This is not a hiss. It is a warning, shouting, "I'm here. Stay away. This is my territory, and you are unwelcome." The rattlesnake is one of the few predators that desperately tries to alert you to its presence. It doesn't want to waste its precious venom on something it cannot swallow. Its venomous apparatus is perfection, honed to razor sharpness. The western diamondback has the longest fangs of any snake. They can reach up to 2.5 centimeters. These are true subcutaneous injectors, capable of piercing not only leather boots, but also thick work gloves. The rattlesnake strike is not so much a jump as it is a rapid lunge, occurring within a fraction of a second. It strikes, injects venom, and immediately returns to its defensive posture, ready for another attack. Unlike many other snakes, the rattlesnake is a tactician. It never attacks from the shadows. It is always visible, always warning, always giving you a chance to retreat. The venom of the Texas rattlesnake is a thick, yellowish, highly concentrated hemotoxin. It contains potent cytotoxins and metalloproteinases that start to act within seconds of entering tissue. As soon as the fangs penetrate the skin, the destruction commences. The venom causes immediate degradation of red blood cells and damages blood vessel walls. The bite site doesn't just bring pain, it creates an unsettling sensation, as if the limb is being torn apart from within. The swelling caused by this toxin is so extensive and spreads so rapidly that it can lead to complete blood flow obstruction and subsequent gangrene within just a few hours. The systemic effects include severe damage to the blood coagulation system, resulting in bleeding into internal organs and total kidney failure. What does a typical bite scenario look like? It's painfully simple. A person hiking in a canyon decides to sit down without checking where they place their hand. Or a farmer working in the field doesn't notice a predator frozen in the grass, silent in its attempt to remain undetected. The rattlesnake strike is an instant hit, followed by the rattle sound as the snake slithers away. In a panic, the person may make a critical mistake, running or applying a tourniquet, which only accelerates the spread of venom through the body. The rattlesnake is a philosopher. It exists in a world where every calorie is precious. It doesn't bite without reason. It acts as a regulator of rodent populations, without which the prairies would become desolate wastelands, ravaged by pests. It symbolizes the wild, untamed America. Its power is not born from malice, but rather is a tool for survival in an environment where every mistake can cost a life. With this, our chronicle of venom comes to an end. We have journeyed from African savannas to American deserts, from the depths of the ocean to mountain peaks. We have encountered 13 perfect killing machines, 13 masterpieces of natural engineering. We learned that in this world, humans are not the center of the universe, but merely guests who must abide by rules established millions of years ago. These snakes are not villains. They are vital to maintaining the balance of our shared home. Respect them, fear them, but keep in mind, they only desire one thing: to live their lives. We have emerged from the terrarium of natural hell, leaving behind the rustle of scales and the cold gleam of eyes that have seen the world long before us, and will likely continue to do so long after we are gone. Take care, watch your step, and remember, nature is not Disneyland. It's a place where every movement should be mindful, and every step should be respectful. Thank you for joining us on this journey.